Hello, you guys. So do you think that frugal living has changed any since you were younger or maybe when you were a kid or whatever? That's what I want to talk to you about today. So one of the ways that frugal living has changed is, for me, this is all just my opinion, what I've noticed, in my experience. So whenever I was a kid, whenever it was kind of looked down upon to buy things at like a thrift store. Granted, I lived in a small town, so that might have been something, but it was just kind of like, ew, And so my mom would try to get good deals and, because, you didn't want to show up to school in something that another kid had worn or put in their Goodwill box or whatever. It was just something, maybe with me, I don't know. Tell me if you've had that experience when you were a kid. So, but yeah, my mom would try to get, good deals rather than thrifting. Well, the funny thing is now, thrifting is now trendy. So now, regardless of whether you're trying to save money, it's really cool to find something neat, and you only paid $3 or whatever. It's trendy. That is something that is fairly new to me. And also, now, the other thing, like with clothes, the other thing that has changed is like now we can go on, Poshmark, Mercari, we can do that and get really, a lot of really nice things for a fraction of what they would be, if we were to purchase them brand new, even if they were name brands or designer brands, whatever. So the next thing is, whenever I was a kid, if we wanted to not have so much, commercials and, have that desire to want everything in the world, we needed to either stay off the radio, stay off the TV. Now it is staying off of social media, which is hard because our phone is in our pockets, right? It is everywhere. We even take it to the bathroom, whatever. It's just everywhere with us. And so that is kind of hard to a lot of people to not get that constant bombarding of ads, telling you your life is not complete until you have this one thing. And you're never going to be able to lose weight unless you try this one thing. Or this is brand new. Nobody's ever heard of this before. Try this little pill. Or whatever somebody is trying to sell you. So it is really difficult to avoid it, especially with social media. Being a lot of us work on our phones, and so we have that constant, the Google ads, just all of the bombarding of it. So that is interesting. Now it's social media, when before it was more so TV, radio, that kind of thing. Another one is when I was a kid, if we were trying to save money, we were trying to, we didn't have any money or whatever the case would be. My mom would buy really cheap food, right? The ramen noodles, mac and cheese, hot dogs kind of scenario. And I noticed a lot of the people where I grew up also did that. And so the thing now is part of frugal living, to me anyway, and I've noticed it is with a lot of people, is buying better food to avoid the costs of the cheaper food later. So that's something that's kind of new. That's trying to avoid the doctor's appointments, right? And having the health as wealth. That seems fairly like a new thing to me. I don't know. Tell me in the comments what you think about that. And then the next one is, whenever I was a kid, we would maybe, if we needed something, say we were going to do a garden, we needed a rototiller, whatever it was. Instead of, like now what we would do is just rent one. A lot of people would just rent one, which makes the most sense. That way you don't have it for the whole year, right? But before, you would have to either borrow one, or you might be able to find one at a garage sale, or maybe in the classified ads, that kind of thing. But now we can just rent one, when before I don't believe that was a thing. Although it could have been, like I said, I grew up in a small town, so that might have been why we didn't have that option. So another one is now we use points for going, on trips, on vacations, airlines, all of that. We use airline miles, or we use points for, we can even cash them in, use them for a hotel. We can do all of that stuff. When I was a kid and there wasn't any money, what we would do is go camping. Although now camping is expensive. Holy moly, it can be very expensive. But back in the day, it wasn't. It didn't seem that expensive. And we would just take food from home a lot of times, if, whatever the case, and go a few hours and stay overnight in the tent and, no big deal. But now, if we want to go on a cheap vacation, we can do that. I mean, we have to kind of plan it out, but we can do that even with little money. There's so many different ways to do it. And the next one is like, now we have a purposeful no spend day, right? Or no spend week, month, year, whatever. We're doing that on purpose. Back in the day, that was just because we were broke. And now we do it to save money specifically, we're doing it on purpose. And that seems kind of new to me. Like what I do is I do kind of a flip side of that. I do only spending money one day a week. And so that's how I do that. But okay, the next one is using all of these different apps for deals instead of like looking in the newspaper. Whenever the newspaper would come in and you'd look at all the store ads, now we can go online and get, all the different ads for whatever stores we're going to go to. Or we can use an app, and then we get more savings by using the stores app. And that's new, right? So you could app churn, I guess, and get all kinds of money off, coupons, all of that. When before that wasn't the case. You had the coupons in the newspaper, you could do that. But now, let's just say you buy a box of cereal, it's on sale at the store, but you have a coupon on your app for say $1 off of that cereal, but then you upload your receipt and get another 4% cash back. You see what I mean? There's so many ways to do that now. Another thing that I've noticed is that people more so now will have a freezer, to say buy meat or buy frozen food products or whatever, put them in the freezer if they can get them when they're on sale, and then put them in the freezer, and then, they don't have to pay the higher prices every week or, however often they need the item. I didn't notice that whenever I was a kid, even whenever I was young, like raising my family, when my kids were little, that wasn't necessarily as much of a thing as it is now. And I'm thinking part of that is probably because of social media, people talking about it. So, I mean, that's a blessing. That's another whole thing, is social media. I know I was talking about staying off of social media, but different platforms like YouTube, for example, or just Googling something, whatever. You can find out how to do or make or what. You can find anything out that you possibly want to know. And instead of going to the library to get a book, now we go on YouTube or we ask Google, right? And we can watch a video and have it explained to us because we just watched it. And I am so much that person to be shown how to do it rather than just reading about it. Anyway, these are several things that I have noticed just in my own experience. And I think what's interesting is like now we have the idea of the idea of going without isn't necessarily a thing as much now as it was back in the day because we didn't have the options, right? Also, I grew up in the 80s and that was in the, everybody's getting credit cards and whatever, but a lot of people were still kind of leery of credit cards, which probably wasn't a bad thing, but not everybody had them. And so if you didn't have the money, you just didn't have it. Now we can use credit cards to get the thing that we want. And that's just so different, right? Granted, you're going to pay for it. And if you're paying interest, you're going to pay upwards of 30% for it more. But it's just, that's different. You know, it's different because now we don't have to go without something we need as much as we used to. And so those are just some things that I have noticed. And then also a big thing with like modern frugality is that it's mostly just not giving in to materialism, in a nutshell, is what I have come up with. Not that I'm an expert, but that's what I've come up with. Because, I mean, if we can avoid everybody trying to sell us something, I mean, we'd be in great shape, right? With everything. Mentally, physically, our house, all of it, right? And so let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And I mean, I just thought it was kind of a fun subject. So let me know down in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. All right, bye.